Okay, welcome to this extraordinary meeting of Council on the 18th of January 2021. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Wiradjuri people, and pay my respects to their elders, both past, present and emerging. I inform all those in attendance at this meeting that the meeting is being webcast, and those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements concerning any person, councillor or employee, and refrain from discussing those matters subject to closed council proceedings as indicated in clause 14.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. I notice that there is one councillor missing at the moment, but I haven't got any apologies, so we'll just wait and see if Councillor Ring comes in. Declarations of interest, there would be nil, I would think. Commemorations and announcements.
Mayor, I have two if I could. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the retirements of Sue Kearns from Portland. Sue has spent over 3 decades teaching in our local government area, and she retired late last year after 21 years, I understand, as the principal of St Joseph's Primary School in Portland. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish her and her husband Mal and their family all the very best for a long and healthy retirement. The second acknowledgement, Mayor, is a man well known to yourself and within the mining community. That's Eddie Morgan. Eddie, at long last, has decided to retire, and I understand there will be a function later in this month to acknowledge the retirement of Eddie. I just want to make a couple of comments. He was well renowned in the coal mining industry. From the management side, he held any number of management positions over a long period of time, but ultimately retired working for the Health and Safety Department of the Mines Inspectorate. And it's nearly got to be a record, Mayor. I understand that he had 64 years in the coal mining industry, both in England and here. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish him and his wife and his family all the very best for a long and happy retirement.
Yeah, I've got one, Mr Mayor. One for the family of Senior Constable Kelly Foster, who passed away tragically up at the Mount Wilson at Wollongambie. She jumped into the water to rescue a fellow walker who was drowning in the river, and they were both tragically pulled under by a whirlpool. It was very sad for our Lithgow community and sad for the police station and everyone here who serve Lithgow. It's she was a terrific officer, absolutely beautiful lady. So even though she was only here for a period of about 8 or 9 months, you would think that she'd been here for a lot longer. Everyone made great friends with her. Her dedication to her duty and to the community of Lithgow was unprecedented, and it'll take a lot to fill her shoes in the way that she used to work, and with the intelligence side of things. She was a very good intelligence analyst, and she brought a lot to Lithgow in that side. So I would just like to pass my commiserations to Kelly's family and the staff at Lithgow Police Station.
Thanks, Councillor Goodwin. Is there any others?
Yes, Mayor Thompson. Just to the Pate family of Lithgow, Lynn Pate passed away last week. Brian's wife, a very highly respected Lithgow resident, and to her and her family and Brian, the loss to her family is a great loss. So to the Pate family, the sympathy extended from Lithgow City Council.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no others, we shall press on. Presentations. We have a presentation from Crow Australia, financial statements for the year ending the 30th of June 2020.
Good evening, Mayor, Councillors, General Manager, Executive Team, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ash Pather, and I'm here to present the report on conduct of the audit of the Council on behalf of the New South Wales Audit Office. The Council General Purpose Financial Report has been audited as required by the Local Government Act. An unmodified audit opinion has been given on the financial report. There were no significant issues or observations identified during the audit of Council's financial statements. With regard to the income statement, in terms of income, rates revenue was very consistent with the prior year. In terms of grant contributions, income was higher by approximately $1 million than in the prior year. Overall results from continuing operations were lower than the prior year due to a number of factors, which includes the impacts of COVID and some increasing costs for employee benefits and materials and contracts. With regards to the statement of cash flows and financial position, in terms of the financial position of Council, there are cash reserves approximating $27 million as at 30th of June. Cash inflows for operating activities were lower than the prior year, and so too were cash outflows for investing activities and financing activities. With regards to performance, the Office of Local Government sets performance measures and benchmarks for councils to assess itself against. There are 6 of these. The first, the operating performance ratio, measures how well council contained operating expenditure within operating revenue. The benchmark set by the OLG is greater than 0%. The council achieved a ratio of -5%, which is below the OLG benchmark. The second measure is the own source operating revenue ratio, which measures council's fiscal ability and the degree to which it relies on external funding sources, such as operating grants and contributions. The benchmark set by the OLG is greater than 60%. The council exceeded the OLG benchmark for the current reporting period, achieving approximately 75%. The unrestricted current ratio is specific to local government and represents council's ability to meet its short-term objectives as they fall due. The benchmark set by OLG was greater than 1.5 times. The council exceeded the OLG benchmark for the current reporting period. The debt service cover ratio measures the operating cash to service debt, including interest, principal and lease payments. The OLG benchmark is greater than 2 times. The council exceeded this benchmark for the current reporting period, achieving just over 3 times. The rates and annual charges outstanding percentage assesses the impact of uncollected rates and annual charges on council's liquidity and the adequacy of debt recovery efforts. The benchmark set by OLG is less than 10% for regional council. The council performed better than this for the current period, achieving 6%. The liquidity ratio indicates the number of months the council can continue to pay for its immediate expenses without additional cash inflow. The benchmark set by the OLG is greater than 3 months. The council was below the benchmark for the current period, but this was due to a change in strategy to maximise interest returns, which saw council increase term deposits from 3 months to 6 months. Council manages its cash flow by having a term deposit mature every week. In summary, council has met 4 of the 6 performance obligations in a year that has been affected by COVID. In terms of infrastructure, property, plant and equipment renewals, during the financial year, council recognised $14.2 million in additions, renewals and new assets. In this period, council has also performed a revaluation of a number of asset classes, which resulted in revaluation increments of $61.3 million. In terms of other matters, 3 new accounting standards have been adopted in the current period. The implementation of these standards had a minor effect on council's financial report. Finally, I would like to thank council for strongly supporting the audit process. This concludes our presentation on the report of the conduct of the audit. Thank you.
Okay, councillor, is there any questions for our Director of Finance?
Regarding, are we moving the notice, the recommendation, Mayor? Or
I was just after the audit report.
After that one,
After
okay.
Yeah,
I don't have any questions in regards to that, but I do have some of them.
that's fine. Okay, then we will move to the document itself. There is a recommendation on page 10. If somebody would like to move.
I'm happy to move it. I do have some questions and some notes.
Move Councillor Coleman.
Happy to second, Mayor.
Seconded Councillor McAndrew. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, firstly, thanks for the report. It's great that it's been delivered within the Office of Local Government timeframe. I note that on page 7, the Office of Local Government said no council should be considering reducing services or staffing just to demonstrate compliance with financial benchmarks. So I want to make that point. As I said, I have a number of questions, and Mr Gurney may have to take these on notice and come back. And I understand that. My first question is, what percentage of the monies were returned to council through Section 44 and natural disasters grants? That's my first one. Can you answer that?
Through Section 44, which is the RFS Act, through you, Mr Mayor, through Section 44, we were able to claim all of the costs related to that, the work the council did to, for example, to close roads, any staff time related to the actual bushfire event. So we were able to claim all of those from the RFS.
Okay, great, thanks. My second question is, what was the delay in the water billing and has it been resolved?
The delay in the water billing has been presented to council. It related to the smart meter project. It has been resolved in that we now have put in a process for regular quarterly billing for water accounts, and that has commenced as of this current financial year.
Thank you. I note that the community have been very disciplined in regards to water management. I see that the water supply user charges have decreased quite dramatically by 82,000. I see that's so the community really needs a pat on the back for that. It doesn't help us, but good for them. I acknowledge the grant contributions are down compared to previous year. Is that because we don't have a grants officer, or we're not applying for grants, or they're not available? Do we have any idea about that?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I take it you're referring to capital grants in particular. Yeah. They do fluctuate from year to year. It just depends on the projects that we have in place in the Capital Works program each year. For example, in recent years we've had grants for, say, the Adventure Playground, Blast Furnace Park. There just weren't quite as many in last financial year.
The reason I bring it to council's attention is it's been brought to my attention that monies by I believe the state government, which was given to the Lithgow Show Society last year, I think it was in the Mercury in March 2020, so that our residents could get in to the show for free. That funding actually has been withdrawn from the Lithgow Show Society, and I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, the Lithgow Show Society had to cancel the show because of COVID. So the government's given them money and taken it away with the other hand, and I think that something needs to be said about that, but that's just my opinion. I note that the employee costs that are confusing. It has combined the restructure costs with the employee benefits and on costs. Look, I would find that really confusing, considering that some of the community think that the staff have received an increase of 6.7%. We need to clear that up. I mean, I'm a state public servant. We only received an increase of 0.3%. I can't imagine that local government employees would get 6.7%, considering that local government is actually a creation of the state government. We need to clear that up. So that's, I'd like that cleared up because it's very confusing in the report. I'd make that note.
Through you, Mr Mayor. This, of course, refers to the prior financial year, the 2019-20 year. Certainly the award increase in the current financial year is quite low. I might need advice on what the award increase would have been in 2019. I think it was probably 2.5% in that year. Yeah.
I know it was really low because state, we didn't, I think ours was only 0.3%, barely. Yeah.
Yes. So, no, the award increase was definitely not, it was only part of the reason for that increase.
I think it's just a bit unclear in the report. I just want to make that note. Can we have some advice on the water compensation, which has increased by 157k? That's a quite increase. Do we have a reason for that? Do we know?
Workers
Comp claims, yeah, workers'
compensation.
compensation has increased, yeah.
Part of it was an adjustment for prior years, but it also partly reflects the increasing employment costs. So it ties in with that. And as well as there have been, it has been increasing at a faster rate in the last few years.
Okay, thanks. I note that materials and contractor costs have increased as well. We may need to review our procurement practice to ensure best value, because I note that that's increased. I just want to make that comment. And where are our asset management plans? I've raised that before. Are they, I mean, where are they at? Through you, Mayor, through the General Manager? And can someone tell me where they're at? That's my final question.
Are you talking about depreciation?
No, asset management.
Mr Mayor, I'll take that on notice and provide a memorandum.
Yeah, I have raised this before, General Manager.
Yep.
Just thought I'd raise it again. Thanks.
provide
That's all I've
it.
got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McAndrew.
Yeah, Mayor, just briefly, I don't have any questions. I've just got a number of comments. To say the least, the report's a sobering one, but I understand that the report being given to our council tonight has probably been reflected in a lot of other councils within the state of New South Wales, all of them confronting all of the challenges that we did, drought, bushfire, flooding, and then, of course, COVID. So it's a report that's probably been reflected across a few local government areas, especially those that reside in regional rural New South Wales. I pick up on the point made by Councillor Coleman that under that page 7 of 11, the impact of COVID-19 on meeting financial benchmarks, that in trying to meet those benchmarks, no council should be considering reducing services or staffing just to demonstrate compliance with financial benchmarks. And lastly, Mayor, I just repeat on page 5, the auditors have formed an opinion that council's financial statements fairly present the result of its financial operations and its financial position as of 30th of June 2020, and that the council has complied with the requirements of the Local Government Act 1993.
Thank you, Councillor McAndrew. Any other councillors like to comment? Okay, then I shall put the resolution. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. We move to business of great urgency.
Yes, Mayor Thompson, I hope that you'll consider this a business of great urgency. For several months now, our local government area has been listening to complaints from people throughout the area regarding Section 64. I think that we need to address this. It's the 3 growth projected areas in the LEP is Bowen Fells, Portland and Wallerawang. And as late as yesterday, I had more complaints that people in Portland that have invested heavily are not putting anybody in their units because of Section 64 that they weren't even informed of at any stage during that building. The other 4 people have actually been speaking to many of the councillors, and I think it's time that we are accountable. I would like a full comprehensive report, please, to the next council meeting in terms of who initiated the Section 64. We as councillors, with Councillor Thompson as councillor then, not the mayor, moved the motion, and Councillor Goodsell seconded the motion to say that there would be headwork fees increases in the 3, as I said, projected areas of growth, Portland, Bowen Fells and Wallerawang. We at no stage did we ever vote on an amount, and now the amount has gone from 20,000 to 60 and from 65 to 180. We need, and now there's more information come to light yesterday that I wasn't aware of. I think we now need to realise that, yes, it will help with our budget, but we as councillors are here to work for our community. And I'm sure every councillor here today would feel obliged to help the residents that are living in these areas. We need to do this, so could I please have a comprehensive report to the next Lithgow City Council meeting? Thank you.
Look, I don't deem it as a matter of great urgency, but we can certainly get a report to come back to council. There's no risk in the world. Mr General Manager, will you take that on notice? Thank you.
Mayor Thompson, I have
Yes.
one item. It probably doesn't fit under the rules for matters of great urgency, but I would like to bring it to your attention. Before Christmas, we all received a letter from the Walgan Valley Fire Recovery Group about seeking support for a letter from Council to the Federal Minister for Telecommunications and the local member to endorse their application for funding in the current black spot rounds. I'd just like if we could get a letter from yourself and the administration, all councillors just do a letter themselves. That would help out that community greatly.
Yeah, look, there's not a problem with that, and I don't know whether the letter of support has been sent yet or not, but I also did raise it with Alison Morgan in the fire recovery, and she is also taking it up on behalf of the Walgan Valley residents. So I can say that council has moved on it, Councillor Ring, but
thank you,
as
Mayor
far as the
Thompson.
letter of support goes, I don't know whether that's been sent yet or not, Mr General Manager.
I can't answer if it has been, but certainly we agree that that's a priority need for that community.
And apologies for being late, Mayor Thompson.
Mayor Thompson, just in regard to the letter of support to Andrew G, I had that in a notice of motion after I visited the Valley in January last year, and it was discussed at length in the hall down there, and I did a notice of motion for a letter to be sent to Andrew G last year, almost 12 months, about 11 months ago.
And I'm sure that was said as well to Andrew G, because he did speak at length on it down at Walgan Valley, and I was there as well. Councillor Coleman?
I just want to re-raise the fact that the Lithgow Show Society have had that funding withdrawn that was given to them in regards to under bushfire grants. They were to give free entry to everybody in Lithgow.
That has been withdrawn. It has also been raised with the local member, and it isn't forthcoming.
Oh, okay. So is that a state grant or a federal grant?
State grant.
State grant. So Mr. Portal is aware of it then.
He is aware of it, and there was quite a few grants that come through at that time, and the money was spent elsewhere, as far as I understand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It was part of the Bushfire Recovery and Economic Resilience Fund, and because that event did not proceed, we needed to put in an application to allocate it elsewhere.
So we put the application in to allocate it.
Yes, we needed to. It needed to be spent on actual events that were proceeding as per the guidelines for the grant funding. So the grant funding guidelines were set by the state government. We needed to put forward projects and events that would fit with the guidelines.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Mayor, so my understanding is that we've redirected it somewhere else. Lithgow Council has, or
The process was that when the Lithgow show wasn't going ahead, and the same with Ironfest, the government asked us would we redirect the money in other places, and council was all aware of this. That
Okay,
we
just want to get it clarified.
That we did redirect that money
Yeah.
to other projects within the town.
That's correct, through applications.
I'm having questions asked of me, that's why I'm getting clarification.
Yeah, no, the Lithgow show directors themselves, they're aware of what happened. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, if there's no more, I declare the meeting finished. Thank you. Closed. Councillors, do you want to go straight on with